Okay, moving right along to 3-6, tax, tip, commission, markup, and discount. And those may not even be words that you're necessarily familiar with, so we're going to do a little vocabulary first to let you understand what those are. Or maybe you've heard them, but you don't really truly understand what they mean. So, first thing that you need to understand before you apply any of these is that when you pay full price for something, okay, mathematically that means that you're paying 100%. So, if you get a full paycheck before they take taxes out, full price on an item, okay, the full bill at a restaurant, mathematically we consider that 100%. So I just want you to keep that in mind for a minute. Okay, so first word we need to look at is a tax. So in a tax is a given percentage paid on a subtotal amount. So that can be sales tax, meaning when you go to the store you pay an extra tax on something that goes to the state or the county. That can be income tax, which is the amount that you pay out of your paycheck to the state or the county or the federal government. And then a lot of hotels now charge a hotel tax that's different from a sales tax and oftentimes higher than a sales tax that you pay for staying in their hotel. That's just a few examples of taxes, okay? But it's an amount that you're paying on top of that. So let's say that 20% of your paycheck is taken out or deducted for taxes, okay? So let's say you make $1,000 a week, every 2 weeks, and then they're going to take 20% of that out for taxes. So you need to figure out what 20% of that is. So now you can use your is over of, but the easiest way to do that is just multiply that by 20%. Since we're not quite into decimals yet, let's write 20% as a fraction and then just multiply across. So you can either do 20 times 1,000 divided by 100. Easier to cross cancel first. You can 100 goes into 100 once and 100 goes into 1,000 10 times. Now you're just multiplying 20 times 10, which would be $200. There you go, Ms. V. So, out of that $1,000, which they call your gross pay, okay, they deduct $200 for taxes, and then the amount you are left over with that they actually hand you in your paycheck is called your net pay. Okay, so the 800 ends up being 80% of your paycheck if the taxes were 20%, because those two things together have to equal 100% of your paycheck. Okay. Next thing is a tip. So you've probably heard your parents talk about this when you go out to a restaurant, that you pay tip on a bill. You also pay tips for getting your hair cut. You pay a tip to your Uber driver when he takes you somewhere. I think Uber tips are actually included in their fees. If you go in a taxi, you'd pay a tip to the driver. So it's a bill, percentage of a bill that you give as extra for the service they've provided you. So for example, say you go to a restaurant and the bill is $40 and you are going to tip that waiter 25% because they were really a great server. Okay. Tip is anywhere usually between 18 and 25%. So 25 would be for really good service. So again, you're going to multiply that by 25 over 100. Okay. And you can simplify this a little bit. You could divide 40 and 100 each by 10 by just eliminating a 0 on each. So now you would have 4 times 25, which is 100, divided by 1 times 10, which is 10. So that would give you a $10 tip that you would be paying on top of your $40 bill, which would give you a total that you are actually paying of $50. So commission kind of works like a tax and a tip. It's an extra amount that's paid, but what it is typically seen when people have jobs in sales. So when they're selling a certain product, they're motivated by their employer to sell more by paying them commission. So you get paid your normal salary, the normal amount you get paid, but then depending on how much you sell, they'll pay you kind of an extra bonus. It's kind of an extra bonus that you get on top of your regular pay. Okay? So It's the actual definition is a fee paid based on the percentage of sales made by an employee or agent. So say you're a salesperson and you make 10% commission on your monthly sales, which is then added to their regular salary. So let's say in a month you sold $50,000 worth of product. I don't know what you sell. You sell widgets, okay? They are going to pay you another 10% on top of your salary for how much you made the company. Because think about that for a second. If out of that $50,000 you're getting 10%, right? The company is still getting 90% of that. You're getting 10% of that, right? So they're still doing pretty well, okay? But you are more motivated to sell because of that 10% that they're paying you, okay? So again, let's simplify this a little bit. Let's take 2 of those zeros off. So we have 5 times 1 is 5, and I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. Ooh, that's a nice little commission check. And people who are in sales can do really well in commission. Okay, people who are really good at their jobs. So let's see, that would be extra pay from commission on top of what that salesperson already made. So let's say you make $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month in that 1 month, or in that, this would be monthly sales, then you would get a check for $10,000 that month, because this is extra. This is like your bonus check. Okay. All right, next thing is markup. So anytime you buy something at Wally World or Target or Safeway or Amazon or wherever you purchase things, the store that you're buying it from did not buy it from their supplier for the same amount they're selling it to you for. They need to make a profit. They're in business to make money, right? So if they sold it to you you buy something for $20. If they bought that item for $20, they can't pay their employees, they can't pay for the building, they can't pay for the computers, so they need to have a profit margin in there that they can cover all of their costs, okay, to cover their what's called overhead. Those are all the costs it's called cost of doing business, right? So the building, the lights, the employees, all those expenses that a business has. So when Walmart goes to GE and they go to buy a television, okay, they paid $200 for the television, but they're going to sell it to you at a 50% markup, okay? So you have the wholesale price, and then they're going to mark it up 50%, or 50 over 100, okay? 100 goes into 200 twice. 2 times 50 is 100. So that's going to be their markup. So they're going to add it to what they bought it for, and they're going to sell it to you for $300. Every item you buy anywhere has a markup, even when it's on sale, even when it's discounted, even when it's clearance. It has a markup on it. The highest markups usually happen, largest markup usually happens in furniture, jewelry. This is why I'm not an English teacher. And believe it or not, luggage. Luggage has a really high markup, like 400%, really, really high. Okay? So a discount, this is what we all live for, this is what I live for, is the amount that's taken off of a price. So if you think about 100% is full price, okay, and they give you a discount of 20%, that's an amount you're not paying, so you're taking that away. You end up only paying 80% of the original price. Okay? So the jeans were on sale at a discount of 20%. So you can do this a couple of ways. I'm going to show you both. So let's say the jeans were $40. Okay? Let's say they were $60. $60 jeans. And you are getting a discount of 20%. So 60. Okay. We want to figure out that percent, which would be 20 over 100. So 20 goes into 60 and 100 goes in there 3 times, goes in there 5 times. 3 times 20 is 60, divided by 5 would be 12. So you have a $12 discount. So I have 60 minus 12, so I'm only going to pay $48 for those jeans. Now, the other way to think about that is, what percent are you paying? And this is how I think of it, actually. So I know it's 100% minus the 20% that I don't have to pay, which gives me 80% that I'm paying. Okay? So when I figure that out, I say, okay, the original price is $60. I'm only going to pay 80% of that. And again, you can cancel this out, and that's a 3. So, and actually, let's put this in here too. So 5 goes into 80 16 times. So 3 times 16 is still $48. I always think of what percent am I paying, because really when it gets down to it, that's what I worry about. It's nice to see how much I save, but I want to know how much I'm paying. So the key things I want you to remember is that a discount decreases the amount that you're paying. A tax or tip increases the amount that you're paying. Okay? The only exception to that is when you're talking about income taxes. That's an amount that's decreasing the amount, not that you get paid, but the amount that you're getting in your check. Okay? All right, so let's try a few at the bottom, and don't worry, we will do many in class. So, if Mary's salary was $750 a week and 20% is taken out for taxes, what is the amount of her actual check? So, the way I think about this is her whole check, her gross pay was $100, and she's losing 20% of that, so she gets 80% of the $750. Okay? If I was asking what amount is she paying in taxes, then I would worry about the 20%. But I know she's getting, it's asking what's the amount of her actual paycheck. That's 80%. That's left over after they take the 20%. So we can do $750 times 80 over 100. We can actually reduce this fraction right here. So that would reduce to 4 over 5. And then 5 goes into 750. 5 goes into 7 once with 2 left over. 5 goes into 25 5 times, and 5 goes into 0 0 times. So now we just have to multiply 150 times 4, which would give us $600. So her original check was $750. Sorry, her gross pay was $750. Her actual pay was $600, which means she paid $150 in taxes. If we had figured out 20% of $750, 20% is 1 over 5. That also would have been $150. Okay? All right, Miss V is a good tipper. I actually am. And usually tips 20% for good service. I usually tip quite a bit over that, but 20% is kind of my minimum. If her bill is $60, how much should she add on for tip, and what would the total amount be that she pays? So if my bill is $60, and I'm going to tip 20%, okay? And this is actually how I do this. I take the amount and I multiply the 10 spot by 2. Okay, so if you do that, I take the tens and I multiply it by 2. So 6 times 2 will be $12. That's how I quickly figure out tip in a restaurant, typically. I just round up to the nearest dollar and then multiply by 2. So if we're going to go ahead and do it long way, 60 can be divided by 23 times, and 100 can be divided by 25 times. 30 times 20 is 60, divided by 5 would equal 12. So that would be my tip, plus the $60 bill, so it equals $72 total. Okay. When I'm figuring out tip in a restaurant, I usually round it up to the nearest tenth, take the number that's in the tenth space, and if I'm doing 20%, I multiply by 2. And that's how much I know I'm tipping. Okay? Bob is an awesome salesman and sold $40,000 worth of product last month. If his commission is at 5%, what amount of money will be added to his regular paycheck? So he's selling $40,000 worth of product, whatever he's selling. And actually, if you're in sales, depending on what you're selling, that's not a large amount. There are some people in sales who sell millions of dollars every quarter, or so every 3 months of product, depending on the industry you're in. So we can eliminate 2 of those zeros. So now we have 400 times 5. Well, 4 times 5 is 20. And then I have 2 zeros that I need to add on. So $2,000 is going to be the amount of his commission check. Not a bad little bonus to be added to your regular paycheck. Okay, a store purchases a suitcase wholesale for $50 and sells it for $150. What is the percent markup? So I want you to think about what we did in the last section as far as percent increase and decrease, because they are related right here. All of this, they're related. Okay? So, and I can turn any of these problems around into a percent increase and decrease and ask you to figure out the percent. So we'll do those too. Okay? So then they paid $50 for it. Now they're going to sell it to you for $150. Okay? So did that increase or decrease? Definitely increased by $100. Okay? So it increased by $100. The original amount was $50. So let's make that into a percent, because 50 and 100 do have a relationship. Makes it pretty easy. So 50 times 2 is 100. 100 times 2 is 200. So that is a 200% markup. And that's pretty typical, actually. That's not out of the realm of possibility at all. Okay? I know it was a lot to take in this section, but we'll get it. Thanks.